Hello, hello. Sira, it's super nice to see how enthusiastic you are about the score. I share some of the things, this thing about being able to repeat, however, not repeating the same movement exactly, but knowing exactly what I'm doing. However, I did manage to change the score for myself because for me there was too many different spaces. So, but maybe it's good if you, tell me how you managed to go through all these things so quickly. And of course, it's amazing if you memorized the sequence. I was now thinking I should try to do the same because I made another sequence which is 10 spaces, and I don't remember them, I have to look it up, so it goes hallway, staircase, I forgot, I have to memorize them again, but I do 10 spaces in 10 minutes, so it's a little bit less dense, but that's a little bit too little, in fact. So maybe it has to be something in between, and of course if for you it works to do like this, I can also try. Again, I don't know if Manon is with us or not on this, but I also like the fact that it's possible to write, that there's a certain writing of movement that happens, but by thinking about spaces and what you say about memory, so it's not necessarily the memory of the space, but it's the memory of what you did, and then how this becomes a kind of writing, movement, like choreography, basically. This, I think, is very interesting, and we should try to speak about how this is working. Because for me, I'm still so I imagine the space, and this gives me a physical clarity, and of course I'm then starting now also to be able to reproduce the physical. It's not that I'm not repeating the same movement, but I'm repeating the same directionality and sensation. And then in relation to the faces, I also have this thing that it can get like totally expressionistic, and I don't mind. I'm thinking something about how it is theatrical also, which I think can be interesting to work on. It's a little bit hard, of course, to do on our own, because this is something that would be good to look at each other to find out, but this we can't do, so I would say go for it, don't worry. It's and also I have something like the way the face is involved. I sense there are different ways. One way is narrative, so that I imagine that I'm seeing something, and then the other way is physical, where I try to be in the space, and that also, I think it's slightly different for me, these things, like when I project an imagination on the space, or when I include my gaze into the space. I have also been doing, so I'm kind of doing a longer score now, and it starts from really miniature movement and kind of not so expressive, like really staying connected to my body and to the loops that I'm doing. And then it goes into loops where I really concentrate on the loop, so still very physical, and that I try to stay, so not to transform the loop, but to stay with it for as long as it is there. And it transforms anyhow, of course. And then I go into these spaces that we are working on now. And then I have a part where I'm walking, but I don't think that's very good, so maybe it's not something to propose. But if you make another sound score, would of course be great. And I don't know, I mean, we can also, now that I listened back to the one I did, I think it's good. In principle, I think it's good. I think it's quite interesting, this thing about how the sound produces a sensation of space, and that the space that I, as a performer, am in is not the same space as the auditive space, and that this produces a kind of friction. This I think is interesting. But, and I like also that it cuts from one space to another in the sound, and that the movement that I do is continuous. This contrast I think is good, but I feel that it could be worked out a little better than what I did already. Okay, but tell me if you would like to keep this score, because I can also try to really learn it and skip my other one or whatever we can see. But we're on a good track, I think. Mano, are you there? Are you with us? Are you okay and doing good? And I don't know. I am still in Montpellier, 2 more weeks to go. I am finishing a movie that I made here. I think I will upload it and maybe you will have a chance to see that as well, which has nothing to do with this, but nevertheless maybe interesting. And for the rest, I wish you a very pleasant day and let's talk more. Ciao.